Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our panel. I'd like to first introduce myself. My name is Bathaya, and I'm one of the business managers here at Side. And I'm really excited to be talking today about topics surrounding teams and leadership. As everyone knows, building and maintaining a successful team is hard, but with the added stress of the current climate, it can be even harder to maintain momentum. So today we have with us three successful team leaders who have team structures and practices which have been proven to work. We are going to talk about the ways in which they lead their teams and how they maintain these practices and methods during times of crisis and uncertainty. So topics today that we're going to go over: team expectations, what does it mean to be a leader, and how did you maintain this during COVID? The hiring process, how to hire the right people, and what is growth. So first, I'd like to start off by having each of our speakers introduce themselves. Please say your name, kind of the basics of your team structure, and where you're based geographically. Let's start off with Zaid.
I'm Zaid Hanna. I am in Santa Clara County, San Jose to be exact. And I have Real Estate 38 and my team, the Hanna Group, under Real Estate 38.
Awesome. Kiana.
My name is Kiana Rodriguez, and I run Alani Properties. We're in Roseville, just north of Sacramento. Our team is made up of 7. We are 3 admins and 4 agents. I'm also in production, and we've been with Side, I think, for about a year now.
Awesome. And Wilson.
Hey everybody, it's Wilson. We are own real estate here in San Mateo County. And we have 8 agents and 5 staff members. And yeah, I am still in production as well. So I think it's important to note, some people have exited the sales side completely. But myself, yeah, still in production.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. I'm interested in learning all about your teams. First, I'd love to hear about the different ways you're managing your teams. So let's talk about accountability and tracking and how you keep your associates supported and motivated. Kiana, why don't you start us off?
So we run, like I said, the 3 admins and 4 agents. Our 3 administration staff run several sectors of our business. So we have kind of our front end with an ISA. We also have an office manager who runs our listing contracts to them being active. And we also have a marketing manager. So between the 3 administrators, there's a lot of communication back and forth with the agents. As far as accountability, I check in with the admins and the agents once per week. So every Thursday we meet as a team to go over everything that's happening. But our software systems like our CRM have back-end tracking for accountability. So there's a lot of like software accountability that I can look into. And then also on Thursday, everyone goes over their production goals, what's happening so that they can report back to administration staff.
Awesome. And do you guys do any sort of business planning throughout the year?
So every October, we set our business plans for the following year. So we've already started our business plans. With COVID this year was a little bit different because we had to take production off of what COVID created for us. We had a really good year, but so October we kind of reset. And then in January, we revisit our plans just to make sure we're starting off on the right foot with our marketing stuff. And then midway through the year, so usually June, July, we check in again and just make sure everyone's on par for their goals or up them if they need to.
Awesome. Zaid, let's talk about how you implement accountability and tracking within your team.
It has different layers. I'm very high touch with the team. So morning meetings, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We do have off weeks trainings, not necessarily every week. We just had actually our yearly meeting with the SWOT analysis, and it was pretty much the whole day. That gets done once a year, and they turn in a greatness tracker. This is a tracker that identifies their face-to-faces, calls, the transactions they put together, and most importantly, how many leads they generated. They know my processes is I'll give them 2 transactions, they have to bring in 1. So the accountability is done that way, and there are metrics, simple metrics. So this is not a lead farm that you can come and grab and close. You can grab agents like that, but my goal is to teach them how to farm. At the end of the day, if something would happen to Zaid, can they eat, or do they have to be forever dependent on someone else? So that's my goal in terms of accountability.
Awesome. I love that you are empowering your agents to be self-sufficient and not just collecting leads from you. That's amazing. Wilson, you have a unique and interesting way you incentivize your associates to move forward and grow within the team. Do you want to share with us that process?
Absolutely. The process that people could take to join our team, typically they start as an ISA. A lot of our agents, if not all, maybe minus 1 or 2 out of the 8 started in the industry, but the rest of them do not have any experience in real estate. So we realize a lot of people are coming from a different industry. We give them a base salary and also a bonus structure based on their involvement of the transaction, and they are encouraged to share the transaction with a senior agent. So that way, first, they have a safety net for 3 to 6 months. And also, secondly, they can learn from someone that's gone through the process before without, honestly, my time. And I will handle most of the training, but then I won't be there for necessarily each and every transaction. I trust that my agents will be able to coach them through that process. They make their way up from the ISA to a 40%, which is broken down based on activity, and then they eventually will be a 50-50 agent on the team. And depending on their performance, they could make a little bit more than that. However, it's based on merit-based / performance.
Awesome. Being leaders, the team looks up to you for guidance, especially in hard times. So define what a leader is and kind of explain how you displayed this during COVID. Kiana, why don't you start us off?
I think COVID was interesting for a lot of team leaders because even ourselves, we were trying to figure out what was happening. Especially, I know Santa Clara County, they were really strict. Our county was watching Santa Clara County, and so we were thinking, they were going to follow suit. So I think one of the biggest things for when COVID first hit or any crisis hits in a team is they're looking at you for you to stay calm. And for you to provide a framework of what to expect. But I think when we were going through everything, even we didn't know what to expect. In order for our team to kind of stay together and keep our heads focused, there was a lot of check-ins, like we were doing our daily huddles. Our team works predominantly from the office, and so this is the first time that we were all working remotely. So I think for us not to know what to expect, it was really just one foot in front of the other and maintaining confidence, allowing them to vent or to, voice their concerns about what was happening, but to keep everybody really focused on what was ahead.
Awesome. Wilson, why don't you tell us in your own words what it means to be a leader and how you kept the team motivated during COVID and how that experience was for you and your team?
Yeah, specifically during COVID, we had to change some of our activities. We used to meet every single morning at 8:30 physically, and we had to change that to a digital experience. We maintained the same habits by still continuing to do so because we find value in starting the day together to strengthen us and to focus our mind for the day to come. So,
Zaid, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you maintained your team during COVID and also what it means to be a leader?
The biggest part was, how do we figure this out? There is a policy manual to say, when COVID hits, this is what you should do as a leader. We were freaking out the first 2 weeks. Who do we keep? Who do we not keep? How do we proceed? How do we not get in trouble? The boogeyman is coming, COVID-19, right? Like, they scared the heck out of us. So as we stepped back and got a lot of guidance from you guys, those town hall meetings were great in giving us direction. I think the biggest part was maintaining what was normal, except virtually, right? So safety first. Then we continued with our meetings. It went from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock because a lot of people started to have their kids that were going to school or not going to school. So we adapted very quickly to actually fit the needs of everyone in the team. I'm in production, except I do all the listings from our team side. They handle all the buyers. Well, I went back into the buy side to work with a couple of the buyers to kind of lead by example to see what are they saying, what are their concerns. So I can go back and say, hey guys, here's what I'm noticing. Are you noticing the same thing? Let's come up with a plan. Here's the script. Go ahead and proceed. Now, of course, not everybody followed suit. You have 50% of the population still are going left or right. Well, the same thing with COVID. Some of them went into under the rock and hid, and you could see based on their numbers, I could look back and say, well, you took 3 months off, you took 2 months off, and so on and so forth. So we were working production wise with the folks that said, I don't care, I'm still doing this. So we gave them more leads. The ones that said, hey, I'm afraid, I have my concerns, we stepped back. We didn't shame. We didn't, go back and say, well, you're part of the team. You must. Nope. We stepped back and we said, okay, we'll support you. And honestly, that even brought us together stronger. So what we started to do is we started to give a lead or two to the folks that said, I'm afraid. And they went out there, they were safe about it, they didn't contract it. And then all of a sudden now they're having hell of a year. So, went from, 3 months off to closing the year close to 20 transactions. So, we led that way. We listened to the team. And even though we're for profit, that was the end of, at the end of the year, that's what we're doing this for. But we kind of listened. We listened to everything around us instead of making our own assumption. We surveyed the team to see what's important.
Awesome. Another recurring theme with all of this is that I'm seeing is goal setting and accountability. When building a team, it's really important that you have the right individuals who have the same motivating mindset. And this is a question I hear often. How do you find the right people for your team? There's always the fear of bringing on the wrong person or dealing with a problem, but let's talk about how you source the right people to join your team. Kiana, you have a great hiring process. Why don't you share that with us?
Yeah, we have a very strict hiring process. So I think it's important. It's like hiring somebody into your family, and I see this on some of the other teams. You don't want a bad apple in your group, right? And out in the agent world, people are accustomed to lots of variations on how teams are run, and their expectations are all over the place. So I have a kind of like a trickle down method when we're interviewing people. They have to get through quite a few interviews before they get to a final interview. I used to think that, the brokers are out there telling agents what they want to hear to come in. And so one of the first things is I make it clear to the person that we're interviewing you. And just because you have a license, you don't just get to come in. I think that's one of the bigger changes that I see on the teams. I meet with the person typically over the phone first, then I meet with them via Zoom. Prior to COVID, I would meet with them in person then. If that person by the second or third interview, I think is a culture fit, they'll meet with our team. The reason why I have them sit with the entire team is it's a very transparent process for someone to ask questions, any question that they want. And we've had them all. So I tell them, you're going to sit down. It's an informal interview with the team to get to know everyone, to make sure that you're the right fit for us and that we're the right fit for you. And usually during that meeting, there'll be things that come out that I didn't see in my initial interview with them, either on the phone or on Zoom. But it gives them an opportunity to ask some of the things that they might be scared about asking me, or get to know the team a little bit better about what they're about. And so the questions that come out at that interview typically run a lot more on the culture of our team.
I love allowing the team to be able to do an interview too, because it's so important. Anyone can be a good realtor, but not everyone is a team fit. And it's important to make sure that whoever you're bringing on is fits in your culture and represents your values. So I love that aspect of your hiring process. Zaid, you have a unique way of hiring associates and teaching them. Can you explain how you go about finding the right fit for your team?
We've written the DISC personality perfect fit for the position. So before we hire, we literally write down who do we want in this position to be filled, whether it be a showing agent or listing coordinator, marketing coordinator, and etc. So if they don't fit the disc profile, we don't even interview them. So we actually give them a list of questionnaires that they have to follow, especially if they're a TC or a listing manager. They got to follow the checklist, right? They have to answer every question. And if they skip one, we're not talking to them. So that means they're just high I's, right? They're not high C's. We want high C's. So that's the first step. Then I have my business partner, Asharina. She will interview them. Then she'll get them in front of me, the second interview. If they're sales reps, I tell them, why should I hire you? And then at the end of the day, I tell them, look, you can close 5 or 10 deals, but we're doing 15 to 20 and even 25 in some months. How do you feel about that? So we literally give them the real time to see what the reaction on their faces, to see if, so there's a lot of, beyond the disc test, we go into the interview. And what we started to notice in the beginning when we did this Zoom meeting interview, they're comfortable in their environment. So you don't get to see the true them. So now we're implementing that we have to bring them into the office for a second, third, fourth interview with the staff, and then the staff will get to make a decision. At that point, it will give you an opportunity to truly see who they are. Did their answers match what they said initially when you see them face to face? So that we implement that quite a bit, and then we're very slow to hire and very fast to fire. Within 2 days, we can tell if that person is going to fit the culture, and I'll tell my team, hey, what are you guys thinking? Here's what I'm starting to notice. And then if that continues, then we just tell them by the end of the week, this is not working out.
Great. I love all these steps and processes in place for both Kiana and Zaid. I love the slow to hire and quick to fire. It's important to take steps, making sure that you get the right fit. And on that subject, really touchy subject, how do you deal with problem associates? I mean, sometimes we can go through all the steps to make sure that we get the right hire, but I mean, sometimes there's things that pop up and they're not always a great fit. How do you guys deal with non-performers, troublemakers, bad apples? Kiana, how do you deal with this?
Contrary to what people think, I think firing is harder than even finding the right people, because now you've spent so much time and you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. And is it you? Is it them? We've let people go on our team even though they were performers. I'm very particular about the culture on our team and how people feel coming to work. So I think people will weed themselves out if they're not a team player, if there's ulterior motives in what they're doing, if they're not treating clientele the way that you want them to. They kind of weed themselves out and raise their hand on their own. I'll tell you, when I first started the business and I started my team, it was the hardest conversation to fire somebody because I felt like I was letting them down. What I've come to find out is it's a process. It's part of being a team leader. Is you have to exit people out that may be holding the team back or might be creating some culture issues. So while I used to be a little bit slower to fire, my conversations are very quick, and I don't think you're a culture fit, or I don't think we don't have production issues, but it's usually a culture issue. So I'm very much now rip the Band-Aid. If they don't fit, you can help them exit, but one culture misfit can really take the entire team down. So quick and out the door.
So one thing that we're all trying to achieve through time is growth. Define what growth means. What is it that we're trying to attain? What are we trying to achieve? Zaid, why don't you take that question for us?
Sure. Everybody's growth is different. Some agents, they want to do 36 units a year. Some agents are happy with 12. So in the meeting that we have in November in planning next year, I actually do the company planning based on what their production goal is. And at that point, we take it over and we say, okay, so for example, 2021 is 200 units at a price point of $1.1 million. So when we put out these plans, I actually ask every individual agent to say what's important to you. Some people that have gone from 24 units down to 6, and that's perfectly okay if they fit the culture. We go back to our core values, and if they fit our core values, I'm okay with them low producing because I know they'll come back. right? So when we set our goals, everybody's different. Sometimes it's a health goal, sometimes it's family goal and production goal. We assist our team with all three. So we step in, we're in the relationship with our client, with our, essentially I call them clients. Actually, my agents are my clients. I take care of my clients so they can take care of the clients. That's our philosophy. That's our culture here.
Awesome. Wilson, why don't you define growth in your own words? What are you trying to achieve and attain for your team?
Growth for me individually and as a team lead is possibly a little different from obviously what the agents want. So more and more it's become less about what I want and more about the compilation of all my agents' goals. So similar to what Zaid had said, whether an agent does 6 or 12 and is happy or wants to shoot for 36 families helped, I think it's an accumulation of all those goals put together. And as long as they feel comfortable voicing what it is in the team environment, I would be more than happy to support it. And I want them to share so that every single person knows how we can support each other. And that's from a business standpoint. And same thing with personal goals. If they feel comfortable sharing what it is that they want to achieve, whether it's working out more, eating healthier, we want to hear about it. We want to help each other do that. And I think that will just foster an ongoing conversation to be able to support each other as a team.
Yeah, I think it's really great to include not just business goals, but really tapping into each individual's why and their personal goals. That's so important. I have one last question for each of you. If there is a partner watching this forum right now, what is the one piece of advice you'd give them if they want to grow a successful team? Kiana.
I like what Wilson said right now. When I started the team, I quickly realized that their goals were really important to me. And as a team leader, you have to be prepared to be last sometimes. I like that in our leadership model and any leadership model I've had, I lead from the middle. I'm not pushing the team from behind. I'm not leading the team from the front. I'm in the middle. And so when it comes to whether or not someone wants a team, you're gonna have to have a lot of patience. Be ready to make a lot of mistakes, but that's how you learn. Talk to a lot of other team leaders because you'll shortcut a lot of mistakes that you would have made if you hadn't talked to them. So if you can find a good support system, I think that's important. But I think team leadership is one thing. Starting a team, you have to have that selfless part in yourself to really push the team, when they need it, to be an ear when it's needed. So I think the first step would be looking at yourself and figuring out, are you doing it for yourself? Or are you doing it for your team?
Zaid?
I'm going to go technical on you. I would say start with the why. Simon Sinek, read that book first. Going back to starting a team, it is so painful at first to trying to identify who goes in what seat and which direction are we driving on. Or I always use this analogy, make sure your ladder is on the right rooftop to make sure that when you get up there, it's not on the wrong rooftop, it's on the right rooftop. So starting with the why is very important because it's going to get you through some very rough days. COVID 2020, but yet we're shattering records. Like, did we show up or did we go under a rock and hide? So that's very, very, very important. In terms of training, don't go it yourself. There are plenty of coaches out there that you can actually learn from. So in terms of how to hire, when to hire, times how many, so that way you're not losing opportunities and you're not overpaying on your salary. And the third piece is make sure you do a P&L every month to understand your business. So you're not growing and you just realize you didn't make any money that year or you barely made any money in comparison to. So start with a why. Why do you want to do that? And then write a business plan as to how you're going to get there 1, 2, and actually 5 years out.
Awesome. Wilson, what piece of advice do you have?
Yeah, I'll start with one of my biggest flaws that I'm aware of, and I guess the tip is self-awareness. One of my flaws is if I could do it and figure out by myself, I will want to, and that's where my habit is. Yet, what I'm trying to do is not reinvention. There's models, there's systems, there's other people that have figured it out. It's a simple phone call or several to reach out to one of these people on this call or the other forum speakers and just ask them a question. We're all part of the same network, and we're more than willing to help, because somewhere along the way for myself, I've been helped by so many people. So I would say be self-aware, know what you're good and what you're bad at, and reach out for help.
Definitely. Self-awareness is very important, especially in taking on such an endeavor as building a team. This was great. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your valuable insights with us. I think one thing we can definitely take away from this is how important it is to be a strong and purposeful leader, and how essential it is as a building block for a successful team. Something definitely seen in each of you. Thank you so much once again. This was great.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
having us.